Eddie Frederick has got it all. Motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all. EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
Self-isolation is not a prison sentence, but it's the safest way to protect the people around you from possibly getting sick. Continue to comfortably buy your groceries and whatever you need, even when in quarantine. Use Coop Bank's e-banking to transfer funds to a close friend or family member's account and get them to do your shopping for you. Log on to www.grenadacoopbank.com and sign up for Coop Bank's e-banking.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to send money to friends or family. E-payments, a swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money.
Welcome home. Believe in our strength. We stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we get. It's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look to all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Tillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of EDDIE-FICATION. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence, Spice Island Beach Resort.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Good evening and welcome to my 94th Independent Live session and 40th for 2022. Come on, folks, share the live. You've just come into the room, just get your fingers busy. Share the live because we have an interesting package here for you this evening. We are living in trying times indeed. And yes, all of us must take responsibility for where Grenada is today. It is because of mindlessness for the most part that we are forced to do a reset today. Now, regardless of whether we want to believe it or not, the same mindlessness has us suffering today. Not that we have awakened to the realities of our actions or inactions over the period 1995 to June 23rd, 2022. Allow me to advance an explanation, please, for responsibility, which, if we are truthful, we will realize starts from each and every one of us. We now know that the true meaning of responsibility is response-able, or ability to respond. Whatever we may think, say, do, or even feel, these are our responses for which we and no one else are responsible. This is easy to see, but hard to live, for we have been taught to believe and think the opposite. So we have to live, for we have been taught differently as we went along. We don't consciously choose our response, folks. We react instead, and then we blame others for our reaction. No wonder we feel imprisoned by others and our circumstances. The enlightened, on the other hand, have broken the spell. They see the illusion for what it is. They take full responsibility for their responsibilities. And as a consequence, they always hold their own destiny in their own hands. They are free and emotionally intelligent. Thanks for joining me once more, folks. So we can proceed to develop a new perspective while paying close attention to ignoring distractions. And God knows we have a lot. Our topic for today's discourse is having the right perspective and knowing what to ignore. In this edition, we will address issues that fit right into the topics, or they're not the topics, but the areas as follows. When we take time to invite dignitaries or anyone to any function that we are having, we need to reserve parking for them as a built-in courtesy. After all, parking is a tremendous challenge these days. And if we are not minded to do so, they have a right to defer when they turn up and discover that they should have left their car at home and walked to the function, regardless of how far it may be. When we pay peanuts, we must expect monkeys to take up the positions and end up thieving to make up for shortfalls. In other words, you pay peanuts, you introduce people to thieving. For small salaries and responsible positions can attract corruption, as we have seen over the period 1995 to June 23rd, 2022. The next area that we'll be covering, when a few sensible Grenadians were advising publicly against the repurchase of the island's lone electric company for fear that consumers are put at a terrible disadvantage, many remained silent while they allowed the inferior authorities back then to proceed while vilifying and maligning those few wise Grenadians. And today, what do we have? In raw Creole, you better iron your clothes as you think about it, for fear that when you are ready to do so, there might be no electricity at all. And the other area, the Office of Prime Minister has outgrown the unsuitable ghetto location of the state residence, which is always overgrown with love vine, with the grounds fit for hunting, and the building turned into use for so many other unsavory activities over the past many years. That place needs leveling, or better put, parting ways with. These will all be presented in full color, and the usual zeal to engage your total interest throughout the duration of the program. I'm thankful that we have electricity and internet so that we can proceed. I just want to remind you, having the right perspective and knowing what to ignore will go a long way in helping us to stay focused and avoid distractions from the many with intellectual starvation who regularly share nonsense. Let's take a little break here and we'll come right back. Some electricity, folks.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence. Spice Island Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. Welcome back. Before we actually continue, I'd like to pay homage and respect to the people on the platforms here this evening. We have Cynthia, we have Clifford, who else? Angel, Hillary, Samantha, Wendy Ann, Branson, Judy, my dear, blessings to you. We also have Karen, Natasha. These are some faithfuls, boy. Joss, Sweet Cakes, how are you doing? Bless your heart, my dear, bless your heart. I hope you are, what should I say, mending well from your, of course, your bereavement. We also have Allison. Lovely. So that takes care of one platform. The other platform, we have, let me take it from the top if you don't mind. Right. So we would have with us this evening Nicole, Brandley, Jennifer, Kerry Ann, we have Irva, Janice, Peter, Kathleen, Sibylla, Shirley, Jimmy, Anne-Marie, Irva, Jimmy again, Jackie, Dred, Mimi, Brenda, Marcel, my dear, blessings to you. Joan, Josie, Clint, Eugene, Anne, Alice, Lima, Vivian, Kimke, Denise, John, Dane, Kelvin, Facebook user, and I believe, I'm not too sure if I said this name before, but then I believe it's another Wendy Ann here anyway. Folks, continue to hit that share button and let's get some more people in the room because we have some topic areas, some lovely, salacious topic areas this evening that I intend to expound on because, you know, there's so many people, so many of us who are not, you know, willing to address these issues. I am. Because, you know, as I told you all already, I'm not on the market for friends. I'm full up. And apart from that, the filters are gone because the civilization has been mangled so badly that I am not prepared to just sit, rest on my laurels, and become mangled or damaged goods also. So welcome back. Hit that share button and let's get some more people in the room. Folks, I recall reading a while back a chapter in an inspirational book that was captioned, "Happiness is based on your perspective," which dovetailed nicely on the heels of yet another chapter captioned, "Happiness is a decision." This Grenadian nation, approaching a half of a century, while claiming to be independent, with probably the worst education, health, and otherwise social conveniences in the entire Caribbean. A nation that was very much on its way to the poorhouse en masse, while the greedy and vultures creamed off the top, and by their very corrupt practices, created more customers in the form of supporters to continue to prop up in office, not realizing that while they were becoming poorer and more vulnerable, these people were becoming richer and doing staycation, renting villas at Westerhall Point for a whole week, sometimes going to their ministry work from Westerhall Point, feeling all motivated, stolen proceeds. All I say now is thank God for this miracle of change so that the nation could enter this transformational era where every hand is required to be on deck. It's 4 months and counting, folks. Many of you who were in the eater food culture were advised to take your purge. You ought to be ready by now to lend your hand to this transformational agenda as we press the gas to move effortlessly forward. Now, while we, all of us, in all of these intransigencies rather, were being committed by jacketed men and otherwise well-groomed women, posing as government and sitting right up in front in our various church services, whether on Sunday Mass or at many funerals, pulling wool over the eyes of the unsuspecting to believe that our society is really Christian. We, the people, ignore the same scriptures that inform our supposedly Christian inclination. The book of Philippians 4:8 reads, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." It was Mahatma Gandhi, a renowned Hindu, an outstanding, noteworthy Indian leader, who said, "If all Christians acted like Christ, the whole world would be Christian." The story is told of John, who was 92 and blind. But he was just as sharp as could be when his wife Eleanor died. He didn't feel that he should live alone, and so John decided to move into a nice senior's home. On the morning of the move, he was up and fully dressed by 8 a.m. As always, the elderly gentleman looked impeccable, with his hair perfectly combed and his face neatly clean-shaven. A cab picked him up, took him to the senior's home. John arrived early, as was his habit, and waited several minutes before a young aide, Miranda, came to show him to his room. As John maneuvered his walker through the hallways, Miranda described his room in great detail. She said sunlight came in through a big window, and there was a comfortable couch and a nice desk in a corner. Right in the middle of her description, John interrupted her and said, "I love it, I love it, I love it." Miranda laughed and she said, "Sir, we're not there yet. You haven't even seen it yet. Hold on just a minute. I'll show it to you." John said, No. You don't have to show it to me, Miranda. Whether I like my room or not doesn't depend on how the furniture is arranged, you know. It depends on how my mind is arranged. Happiness is something you decide ahead of time. As wise old John understood, happiness is a choice. When we wake up in the morning, folks, we can either choose to have a good day or a bad day by choosing to be in a good mood or a bad mood. Goodly folks, make the best and the most of whatever comes your way. And always be looking for God's hand of blessings to carry you into the abundant life that He has planned for you. Our perspective must change if we all are to be integral to the necessary transformation that must take place for us to move forward as a nation, really serious about going somewhere desirable. We have to learn all over again to communicate with the desired impact in mind. Communication dictates that it is a with activity, because when defined, it simply means the interchange of thoughts, ideas, messages, and information to bring about mutual understanding. You see, folks, for mutual understanding to take place, I must understand that you understand that I understand you. You must understand that I understand that you understand me. And that must be taking place at the same time, in order that mutual understanding results so both parties leave this with the same message or messages. Thanks to the many who would inbox me, phone otherwise, message me, and even comment on how clearly they are able to understand me when I deliver. It is one of God's gifts to me that I never intended to waste. For communication to be effective, it cannot be one way. This therefore means that we must ensure that we listen to understand fully before responding or reacting, so we can therefore respond responsibly. Our nature over the years has been to hear what people say, because we are more preoccupied with responding as quickly as possible under the guise that we are busy, we are so much in a hurry. Oh God, hurry up now. Many of us ask people to speak to them instead of with them. But for communication to be effectively executed, it must be an exercise in interchanging ideas, thoughts, messages, and information to bring about that mutual understanding in the end. C.L.R. James, the Caribbean's foremost philosopher, is on record as having said, "He who only knows cricket knows not cricket," in his book titled Beyond a Boundary. He was basically telling us that we have to be well-rounded and not limited by tunnel vision in whatever field of endeavor we are engaged in. If you are a leader, you have to ensure that you can cover all bases, if not by yourself alone, but by the people and talents you surround yourself with. All bases can surely be covered in this way, as no man is an island. But if you are the type of leader who must be surrounded by duds and stupides, you want to be the brightest person in the room, you will stumble and fall very hard. Any progressive person in leadership or management, upon realizing that he or she is the brightest in any room, needs to find another room. Because what you will find is that each of you in that room would have been developed to your full potential, and not much else by way of genuine development of the environment and one another will ever be possible. I recall looking at a cricket match between Pakistan and West Indies, the end of it that is, which took place in Antigua years ago, when Curtly Ambrose was approached by Ian Bishop after the match. Ian Bishop, of course, being a former West Indian cricketer himself. And at that time, a cricket commentator. Curtly Ambrose was approached for a comment on the team's performance because he seemed to have bowled well. His response was to say words to the effect, "I am not much of a talker and a showman, you know. Go and engage somebody else now." And that was live. Of course, Curtly was a star fast bowler at the time. And what he was demonstrating is that in that interaction with Bishop was the correctness of C.L.R. James's philosophy. He who only knows cricket knows not cricket, in his book titled Beyond a Boundary. Folks, even as a nation, we need to build up the character of our whole person the whole person in sports so they can evolve into sophisticated, authentic national ambassadors of our nation, as against just sportsmen and sportswomen in the raw, many if not all of whom we have today, just sports people in the raw. I recall being invited to deliver a motivational 2-hour presentation at a particular event about a good 20-something miles away from where I lived back then. I accepted willingly, as I always do, time permitting, that is, at absolutely no cost to the organizers. Anybody who knows me and knows me well knows that I do not enjoy driving for distances at all. But my love for what I do and the interest in contributing to the way people feel after each of my deliveries are the few for me to ignore long journeys. You know, I got there on time, and there was absolutely no reasonable park for me. After driving for an additional while in search of a park, I saw where I had to end up parking and having to walk back in the dark during a consistent drizzle, properly dressed, and the likelihood of walking into muddy puddles. I got back into my car and proceeded to take my homebound journey. I gone back home. You think me studying these people? I contacted the organizers after this firm decision of closure to close out in disgust and advised them, you need to get one of the people who is comfortably parked, nicely up front, to deliver a motivational presentation for you this evening. In other words, include me out of this because I gone. I have no time for this level of mindlessness. You know, I could not care less what they thought of me, as I had absolutely no control over that. You could think what you want. In fact, I was told that one of the members of the management committee was on record as having said, who do you think he is? I don't see what he had to get on so far. What is wrong with just parking down the road there and walking up here? But you see, when you do not operate by any standards, it's very easy for you to criticize the man who does. I have set my standards, and I shall allow no one to take me beneath that confirmed standard, regardless of who. I knew how their mindlessness made me feel, but not without establishing to them my boundaries. Folks, we cannot continue to treat with people at any level just any old how we feel or don't feel. We must make an attempt to cover all bases. I have been to many events as a specially invited guest, and there was no one to meet me, and I have no idea which part of the compound I am to enter for the particular event. What is that about? But I'm talking about me and my experience. The truth is, how many other people have had this drain experience? The whole place, the whole civilization in Grenada mash up. People just don't know better, and they seem not willing to learn. You see, we have had almost 30 years of this training and exposure to mindlessness by several people who were snatched and given positions of authority and leadership, whose main concern and focus has been, and up to this day, what is in it for me? We have become so bloody greedy that we have allowed our concentration on it to distract us from actually doing a sterling job. Many of our managers today, oh Lord have mercy, are more concerned with their ability to purchase some pieces of designer clothing and accessories They revel in the new model company car. They are given the opportunity to drive, or that which their new salary can afford them on their own. They seem dead set on their air-conditioned office and all the comforts of the job by way of salaries, perks, and they forget to do the work that they were employed to do. When the time comes for them to vacate the positions, either through retirement or summary dismissal or just simply moving on, they leave no meaningful mark. Absolument nada legacy. All they did was eat a food while they were there. And I recently reminded some participants of a workshop I concluded. People don't leave jobs, people leave people. It is precisely because they do not see any value in working with certain people based on the environment, toxic and or otherwise. But that which is tantamount to undesirable, they leave. Imagine, they're going to another job to meet other people. And most times they end up much happier there among the other people. Of course, if they encounter the same or similar challenges to those people, of course, which they left behind, they have to take a conscious look at themselves, as they are more likely than not the problem. Bad managers and bad leaders are killing our local working environments. Why is it that so few working environments know their mission statements in Grenada? Where is the manager in all of this? In the majority of workplaces, even the manager seems to be among those who do not know the vision and the mission statements. They know where to find them, either in a file or framed in a particular area of the workplace. But he or she never thought of it as important enough to know and recognize as the reason why he or she and his or her team are actually employed to give life to every day in order to contribute to the sustainability of the working establishment. And that is why I firmly conclude, folks, bad managers are killing this nation. But let me close off this point by advising and strongly admonishing any government minister in this new transformational dispensation and any other leader in our society or anybody in particular to ensure that you cover all bases when you are interacting with or dealing with anyone, regardless of their level. Have respect. Respect is something you give that comes back to you as per the laws of reciprocity, attraction, and karma. For what you do, you will surely get. When you're invited anywhere, and the accommodation for you, from where you are made to park to where you are positioned to sit and or stand, is not in order, return to where you are accustomed to such order. Go back home. Leave them alone. Do not subject yourself to the wanton classlessness and contempt that the ignorance of the empty elements in positions today want to subject you to. Trust me, they will get the message. Join me in not giving a hoot about how they think. Just remain true to yourself without compromise to your standards that you have evolved to now enjoy. After all, we are supposed to grow through life and not just go through life. Too many people in Grenada confuse humility with stupidity. Remain humble and grounded, but never stupid, for there is indeed a time and a place for everything. Having the right perspective and knowing what to ignore will go a long way in helping us to stay focused and avoid distractions while we protect the new standards that we've grown accustomed to No compromise. This dustbin bouncing low lolly drain behavior must stop. As a leader, if you don't know, learn for fear that you're forced to learn the hard way. When people who know better start publicly embarrassing and shaming a lot of you, you will be forced to learn. Folks, that was a lot of peppery. Let's take a little break and we come right back for more. Hit the share button because there's a lot more where that comes from as we crescendo into the third part, followed by a fourth.
Of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick.
Let's get this thing straight. This has to start.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tilly Group Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence. Spice Island Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Folks, welcome back. And for those of you just joining us, I want to say a hearty welcome to you too. Oh boy, I've just seen here a comment. What is it? I just lost it. But I wanted to share it. Anyhow, we'll probably have to take it another time. But we have a lot of onions to fry here this evening, and I believe it's already after 7:30, so we should be at the little halfway mark here. Moving on. Some time ago, folks, listen to this carefully. When Sister Portia Simpson Miller was Prime Minister of Jamaica, I recalled many of her adversaries were making the point that she's costing the government too much money by the car she wants to ride in, and the repairs and remodeling she was undertaking at the official residence for the Prime Minister, and the cost of entertainment and even lunch for the cabinet when they were in weekly sessions. It would appear that they forgot who they were dealing with, as she was always known to be frank and ordinary. But here the Jamaican pronunciation, ordinary with an A. They didn't realize that she was not going to back down. Her response to them was simply, close down the office of Prime Minister if you wanted to operate at a substandard. She said, first and foremost, she is just an ordinary citizen whose personal car is already at a standard. And as Prime Minister, she's not prepared to sink below her personal standard. If she is expected to leave her personal home to move into the Prime Minister's official residence, it cannot be below the standard of where she normally lives. On a normal basis, when she and her husband are entertaining, they entertain at a level that will be brought to bear on the position of Prime Minister. No compromise. Of course, her tone of voice and accompanying body language indicated a total disgust with the mooted objections by those who wanted to demote her socially. Folks, we bring to any situation in life that we ourselves are in, who we are, our standard and quality. And if we have none, we will bring that too. We have had lots of low-class people with access to social media who feel Mount Royal is fit for a prime minister to reside in as it is. You should ask the government to let you stay there because it is vacant now. That place has for years outlived its usefulness. Has any of you who are today talking about the current prime minister's decision to not relocate to that Labast, overlooking Darbo, Mount Rush, River Road, Queen's Park, taking an objective look at it to see if you have a dog, if you will, that you really love, that you would allow to live there right now as it is? What obtained prior to June 23rd, 2022 may have been suited for that place. But since the commencement of transformation, it is obsolete. The entire grounds are always overgrown, as if to indicate that beasts live there. So you have to hunt for them. Ha, ha, ha. As we say, joke day. Anyone who knows the humble man that our current prime minister is, you would know that he's also classy. And his successes as a lawyer support his high standard of living and quality of life. Even though he lived on St. John's Street, a building he owns, necessity and practicality contributed to him electing to live there as a private citizen. Of course, the high quality of the internal environment made it pleasing to him and his children. He is now the prime minister, and for security reasons, it is not practical for him to continue to live there. That is an undisputed fact. If you have your nice environment living in all the time, for reasons that are convenient to you, but you are in a similar position to the current prime minister elected to office, would you mindlessly relocate to a broth house? A house where intelligence tells you all sorts of unsavory things used to go on, and for many years? You gotta be out of your cotton-picking mind. Apart from that, when you see where this place is and what it has come to since after Sir Eric's years of living there, government should have parted ways with that location a long time now. I recall saying years ago, and only recently repeated, that no individual citizen should outclass the residences of our Governor General and our Prime Minister. Their residences should be strategically located, properly designed to take everything about the position it is intended for into consideration. It should be a pride point for our nation, something to boast of. And when the person comes out of it, regardless of how long they may have been in office, they should have learnt to ascend to the level of existence they were exposed to while living there. Their residences should be managed by enforceable norms and rules that the occupant cannot turn either of them into a brothel, a ghetto, or their grounds should not be dependent on prisoners to be let loose to clean once in a while when they become overforested. All that I shared there are elementary. But who is doing the sharing? Someone who has grown through life, having come from extremely humble beginnings. I always tell people, folks, if ever you see me where I started because of a stutter in my life, it is because I'm only visiting. I am too strong-willed to remain there, having tasted of the current standard of living and quality of life I am at today. So please expect me to rise again in short order. That should also be your philosophy. I will continue to share with you over and over again, not for fear of being termed repetitive, but for emphasis. That it is much better to have character than just to be a character. For character is who you are. We need to stop using character and reputation interchangeably because they're not the same. Character is who you are, while reputation is what other people think of you. And we have no control how other people will think of us. When you take care of your character with consistency, your reputation will take care of itself. People would realize what they thought of you was incorrect. Not that you care. Be consistently the same person you are with anyone you are with. That would be you being your authentic self, imbued with integrity. So follow me and remember, when you see or hear people talking about you, it is because you are at the top and you therefore became their topic. When they choose you to be their headline, it is because you are at the head. The reason why they are talking behind your back, it is because you are in front of them and most times way ahead. People never talk about people who are less productive or successful than they are. When others try to pull you down, it is because they are already below you. Why, therefore, with all this knowledge, you would allow anyone who is not at your standard and level of consciousness to convince you that you are wrong to have standards and be a sucker for high quality? Why? Don't you ever make that mistake to compromise your very soul, folks? I know that June 20th, 1995 to June 23rd, 2022 has been a long time. Long enough for a vast majority of our population to have lost their souls. But that does not mean you have to follow that vast majority. The road to heaven is sparsely populated with travelers, while the road to hell is reported to be crowded. Remain on your road, for you shall always prefer to fail with honor than to succeed by fraud. So to conclude on this issue of the current Prime Minister refusing to relocate to the scum our state offers him as official residence and elects to live elsewhere, we need to cut it out and stop exhibiting our low level through such objections. Failing that, you could go there and live. It's available. It might just be suitable for you. I therefore recommend that the state seeks to sell it off and take a little pittance, the little pittance you might get for it, and make a down payment to Creative Designs and Building Construction Company Limited, the local best, for them to build a proper Prime Minister's residence, one that we all can be truly proud of. On a similar issue, our preoccupation of money and with money needs to change. We have a very poor way of interpreting the value of money, and hence we project this on everyone. Someone whose worth is salt being properly paid. Once many of us find out the figure, Jesus help you, we are alarmed and we become envious. For years, our local system has vulgarized our youth population and converted them into poor and vulnerable, strategically to turn them into perpetual customers that would consider the pittance they are given through their monthly $800 to $1,200 dollars in Imani payments that went on into perpetuity, leaving them futureless today. Transformation has come. And those days are about to be over. Young people, continue to position yourselves for newness, for this is your time. I recall telling you that a 25-year-old 25 years ago was well on his or her way to living in his or her own place, whether he owns it by a mortgage or by rent, because he's no longer under his mother and father's roof. He's probably back then just about to start a family while being informally hitched or married. Today, a 25-year-old boy, 25 years later, still lives with his or her parents, cannot afford to leave to go anywhere. In fact, the single mom, most of them, is happy to get something from that monthly 800 or 1200 from them, if they have anything left after they top up their phone with minutes and data, and after they posed for photos for Go to Fet and the many fets on offer, with absolutely no thinking about their future. Folks, the collective nature of that bouncing low to no culture of development, as I like to call it, the subculture, is wreaking havoc on our civilization today. That is the legacy of the entire period, 1995 to June 23rd, 2022. What a decrepit legacy. Yet for all, these many young people know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. What a thing. But I proffer, when you pay peanuts, you must expect to get monkeys to apply for jobs on offer. And in many cases, the really qualified who know they are worth more can be tempted to descend into delivering just enough to suit how much they are paid, while the cleverly dishonest ones would tend to use their positions to siphon elsewhere and thus introduce the element of corruption to the positions, while marring the reputation of the entire national landscape. Folks, we have to understand and appreciate that is we are content, if we continue to be content to pay politicians in office just under or about $7,000 per month in salaries and expect them, him or her, to deliver honestly, you are wishing on a star. Many of them have been known to pad their salaries through travel per diem, which they bloat in order to splurge with absolutely no accountability to our treasury. Some of them want to go to everything that is passing, as long as it involves taking a plane. Even things that are not at their level, they want to hog it too. That is a form of gross dishonesty. Could you imagine a primary school teacher who must have been making less than or just around $2,000 per month, elevated to minister through either election or appointment to the Senate? You could imagine how promoted that person will feel. So a $5,000 raise means a lot to that element. But could you imagine a really accomplished person with the right level, who's already used to a high standard of living and quality of life, and whose very level aid him or her in the delivery of the right level to the nation, in keeping with the high standard that we are to operate and function at, pivoting from his business or profession to have to cope with this terrible demotion in salary? Folks, come on. Let's get real. Stop your poorhouse thinking. No wonder we would continue to receive progress in keeping with the puny and microscopic thinking and abilities of this primary school teacher. Could you imagine if people of the St. Patrick area had elected the light-skinned whiner boy who looked like all he could do is whine? Maybe the salary of a minister would have been good for him, as it may very well have been much more than he would have ever been used to for whining. But I ask you, what would have been his output based on his true capabilities, capacity, or lack thereof? How beneficial would he have been to us in any ministerial portfolio? After all, we do not yet have a ministry of whining, do we? Except if the election results would have gone differently after June 23rd, 2022, you may just have gotten a ministry of whining. Could you imagine a person transitioning from whatever position to politics after being successful and have to continue to pay rent or mortgage to the tune of over $3,000 to $4,000 per month? NIS, income tax, insurances for house, car, and health and life, electricity, telephone, water, groceries, clothing, gas to cook, gas for car, taking care of children, car note, and still have constituents lining up daily for help? Where are they going to get this money from within this $7,000 per month? That person obviously is going to end up in the poorhouse. They have a government position, but very quickly on a fast march to the poorhouse. And that is why we need to select people of substance to positions in politics who can deliver based on their knowledge, commitment to true north development of people, communities, and the country, based on their own successes, but pay them well. For when you continue to pay this stupid money that many of you glorify as a lot, you could only attract people whose mouths slip and speak the truth about us continuing to suffer. Because all they can help you do is to suffer while they are happy with a paltry sum that they think of as a lot. Lift your level, people. Lift your level. For far too long, you have resigned your thinking to the point where you either directly through your jump and wave culture elected miscreants and people of microscopic minds to office, or by your inaction, you failed to rid the country of them a long time ago, thus reaping the disbenefits of a damaged civilization today, mistaking up for down and down for up. Having the right perspective, folks, and knowing what to ignore will go a long way in helping all of us to stay focused and avoid distractions while you gravitate towards new standards that are necessary for you to change your trajectory in life. The next segment to follow is our final segment, and that one is going to be interesting. They're all interesting tonight, so continue to stay tuned.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence. Spice Island Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wow, wow, wow. I see a comment here. This time I have found it actually, so I know exactly where it is. Let me just find it. It's from Marcel. Marcel says here, wait on this 1 minute. Oh, you can make it on $7,000, but you have to create your own faith to get through in life. Aha! A lovely play on words there, my dear. A lovely play on words. And when you have your own faith, and your faith is deep-rooted, and you could convert your faith into dollars and cents, you could do a lot of staycations. You could rent a lot of villas, and you could enjoy yourself. But remember, they say, 99 days for the thief, 1 day for the watchman. Welcome back, folks. And for those of you just joining, I see somebody giving Donna some West here, telling her, go up in front. She just reached. Sit in the back. You know, long you get your notification from me. When they are you're marking too hard, you need to behave. Folks, years ago, the fight to prevent GRENLEC from being privatized started as a means of avoiding the loss of the company's potential to be a piggy bank that could aid corruption and the corrupt intentions of two elements. Interestingly, only few sensible Grenadians were advising publicly against the need to listen to these two elements, and went through to the post-privatization period totally opposed to the likelihood of the repurchase of the island's lone electric company for fear that consumers are put at a terrible disadvantage. But guess what? A vast majority of you Grenadians remained silent, while your omissions allowed the inferior authorities to so proceed, and ending up causing uncalled for stress on all consumers of electricity today, with higher costs for their monthly bills and frequent outages when compared with the 26-year period of stability. The same few who were clairvoyant enough to see where this will end were vilified and maligned. And today, what do you have? Better than iron your clothes now. I hope you're ironing while you're listening to me, for fear that when you're ready to do so, there might not be any electricity at all. You see how uncertain it has become? It is so easy to see beyond the immediate if only we will tune in, stay focused, and pay attention. Too many of us allow the pettiness of politics to prevent us from seeing the bigger picture. Too many of us allow our support for a party to hamper objectivity, which is a main ingredient for nation building. We immerse ourselves in a political tribe that only benefits the chief, and we cannot see there's no benefit for us. So much so, many of us have branded ourselves as green juice drinkers. And just by how you walk, talk, and otherwise carry yourselves, people can tell you apart. You just have a look. Everybody know who you is. It's sad. You want to hear objectivity, folks? I'm a Garyite who nursed Garyism from my mother. In fact, I consider myself a child of labor. Interesting, huh? But hear me now. The system that came closest to the answer for Grenada's developmental needs during our entire post-independence era was the People's Revolutionary Government of Maurice Bishop and Bernard Cord and others. And that is true without deceit. That's a total indictment on the longest serving Prime Minister, whose only claim to fame is the duncifying and pauperizing of our people en masse, leaving the nation with high unsustainable debt and nothing to show for it. Absolutely nothing. Everyone who served under his 5 terms should be gathered and brought to a public square for a monthly flogging together with him, because you two are just as guilty of mashing up this Grenadian civilization. What a pity. GRENLEC is still the last Mohican when it comes to a properly run company in Grenada. It is just that within 18 short months, how far down the deterioration quadrant it slipped when these miscreants had total oversight over it. We need to privatize this company fast if we want to ever have a chance of revisiting stability of electricity supply on one hand, and be able to deliver confidence to investors to do business with us, because that infrastructure is secure on the other hand. It is in our best interest that we support a return to the progressive atmosphere that this strong company once enjoyed, where the actual pride of its team members were a lot more evident than it is today. Of all the companies we have in Grenada, GRENLEC still stands out among the best by virtue of its strong professional culture. I'm proud of the entire team from captain to cook. We just need to right position them while ensuring that we enjoy a win-win relationship once more through reliable and consistent service, which we must willingly pay for. We have to remember that free and cheap things are not always good. Well, look at our health in Grenada. Our health in Grenada is reputed for being free. And that is why when you get to any of our health facilities, to include the general hospital, we do not get much, if at all anything. It's free. What you forget? That's why you get little or nothing in return, because it's free. Folks, patriotism is one thing, but practicality in relation to our ability to pay for and maintain is quite another. Look at SGU. That medical school, according to Dr. Charles Mardeka, the Chancellor, is a Caribbean university based in Grenada and should not be referred to as an offshore American university. Where is it located? Grenada, in the Caribbean. We ought to be proud of its growth and development over the years and glad for the quality employment it provides to our people at all levels, not to mention its consistent contribution to our national economy. SGU is local, regardless of the nationality of its owners. As I close, I thank you for your time as per usual. And I trust that you were able to broaden your scope on all the issues ventilated here today. We are required as a collective, as a nation, to lift our standards and our levels and stop wallowing in the subculture where the architects of backwardness took you and kept you from the 20th of June 1995 to the 23rd of June 2022. Transformation has come, and it is time to move forward. Please join me in repeating to yourself as often as you can on a daily basis. I will also post this. I'll do it in the morning for you to be able to see it, share it, and internalize it. So I'm asking you to repeat to yourself as often as you can on a daily basis. My life is great. I am great. Everything is happening for me. All the things I am currently experiencing are only taking me to the next level of my life. I am growing. I am getting better. I choose to believe in sudden miracles and unexpected blessings. Folks, have the right perspective, knowing what to ignore. That will get you a long way in building character and making you a better person, so that one by one, you can contribute to transforming Grenada to the place that it should have been on its way to becoming, as we speedily head to 50 years of national independence. I'm in, I'm out, I'm gone. See you next week, God willing, for regular programming. Until then, I invite you to stay safe, stay well, remain lifted, please. Cheers.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, Antillian Group, Country Cold Store.
Living with the pandemic hasn't been easy, but that does not mean that life has to fall apart. Work, play, and take care of your finances from home. Connect with friends on social media, host Zoom meetings with colleagues, and use Co-op Bank's e-banking to pay your bills and manage your funds. Log on to www.grenadacoopbank.com and sign up for Co-op Bank's e-banking.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to send money to friends or family. E-payments, a swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money.
Welcome home. Believe in our strength. We'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we get. It's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of EDDIE-FICATION. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant, world-famous 6-star Diamond 5-Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence, Spice Island Beach Resort.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.